Hey guys, how you doing? My name is Lena. Welcome back to another video. So today I wanted to show you some books that I usually use to get out of reading slumps. I hate getting into reading slumps because honestly, it takes me a while to get out of them. So once I'm in, I'm not getting out for at least a month or so. So my trick is to read mystery books or horror books, honestly. But I know that some of you do not read these genres, so I have a list here of genres and subgenres, we can call them. Different ones, so you can all choose different books. Though I have to say, I did grab a lot of mystery books. I think they're the best, honestly, because you have like this intrigue, you want to know what's happening next, while with fantasy it's really like most of the times it's very slow paced, so you're just like going with the flow. But yeah, let's just get started. So the first category that I have here is standalones. I feel like starting a new series is a lot when you're in a slump. I do try it sometimes still because I'm a masochist, but in general I feel like it's better to have like an autoconclusive story than something bigger, like a 14-book series. You don't want that. You don't want that. So the first one that I have here, and the one that actually got me out of a reading slump recently, is The Gathering. I've never read anything by this author before, even though they're well known. But the thing is, I love this. This was so addictive. I finished it in 2 days. It was just the right thing for me. In this one, we are actually set on a world where we know that vampires exist, and they have actually become like a protected species of some kind. They actually have like their own zones in their own towns, like their own reservations, which is, you know. But we're going to be set in Alaska, and in this town, a couple of years back, if I'm not mistaken, well, not couple, few years ago, there was actually a murder. They accused the vampires didn't do it. There's a lot going on, so these little like intrigues from the past are now coming back now that another body is being found. I really liked it. I really liked it. If you like something like 30 Days of Darkness, you are going to love this, honestly. Like, it's fantastic. It's fantastic. I loved it. Then another one that I read recently, this is The Reappearance of Rachel Price. This is another book by the author of A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. So if you like that one, you're going to love this because it's just the same. It's the same formula. It works wonderfully. Wonderfully. It's just so good. I love this author so much. I don't know. Her books are so, I wouldn't say intriguing, but they're just like so easy to read, and they're really good, honestly. In here, we're going to follow our main character, and her mother disappeared 16 years ago, but now she's suddenly found, and apparently she's been kidnapped for all these years, but she starts finding little hints here and there that maybe she's not telling the whole truth. I'm just going to leave it at that. This one is really cool, honestly. The twists are great. You can see them coming, but it's just so entertaining that you wouldn't mind. I'm sorry, I know it's another video, but the book club, the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. I hate to say this name, but I love this book. I do have a thing for vampires. I don't know why, but there's so few good books about vampires, and this is one of them. Yeah, I always say that this reminds me a lot of Fright Night because of that like more suburban type of story, and there are not like these huge action sequences, more like just mysterious and oh my god, I know that he's a vampire, he doesn't know, maybe he does. So in here we're going to follow Patricia, and Patricia is very bored with her life until one day she meets her new neighbor, and she starts feeling that maybe there's something wrong with him. I love this. I love this book so much. I've reread it recently, and it's still as scary as the first time that I did. Hear me out. I always recommend The 7 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle, but I feel like I've been recommending that a lot lately, so we're going with The Devil and the Dark Water by Stuart Turton. Stuart Turton is actually coming out with a new book. Well, it has already come out with a new book, so I will be reading that next month. But this one is actually more historical fiction mystery. Murder mystery type of book. The Sirens of Evelyn Hardcastle is definitely like more sci-fi, but in here we're going to follow a group of strangers that are actually trapped in several boats while they are traveling, and some people on the crew are dying basically. So we have like an inspector and then some other mystery characters. I actually really like this, but the thing is, I love this copy, just to get out of the way, but I don't think that this one was as good as the Seven Days of Evelyn Castle. So in a way, I wasn't like really feeling it. But I actually think it's a really cool mystery book. Honestly, I feel like I might reread it. But I got this copy and I love it so much. Like, it's signed. I was so happy when I got it. And I just barely recommend this book. But yeah, it's definitely worth it. So this is going to be a bit of a, I want to say controversial take, but definitely unpopular. I really liked Starling House by Alexei Harrow. This is the same author as the 10,000 Doors of January, which is a book that I really like. But this is more like horror, mystery, gothic type of feeling. We're going to follow a girl and she has always been attracted to this house, the Starling House, and she finds a way to start working there. It's really cool. If you like haunted houses, you're probably going to really like this. But the thing is, everyone says that this book is really slow, but I feel like it has enough like horror elements and mystery to keep you going. Like, the atmosphere is fantastic. I do have to say that the ending, not a huge fan, but the rest of the book is really cool and I will still recommend it, even though a lot of people said that it was slow pace. I don't think so, honestly. Then another one. This is Black River Orchid. Orchid? I read this one not that long ago when it came out because I feel like Chuck Wendig is an author that I feel really attracted to his summaries, basically. And I feel like it's just like the masculine version of B. Schwab for me. Where I'm always like really attracted to his premises in his books, but then I'm not really blown away by the execution. But I've read all of his books and I really like them. Like, I don't love them, but I always really like them and they are really good times. So this one came out recently, it's his latest release, and it's a lot. A lot happens here. It's definitely a horror mystery novel. So if you're looking for that, set in a really small town where they are obsessed with an apple that is delicious, that it can only be found here. So we're going to follow a family that inherits this land and they find like the apple tree and they start growing apples. It's really cool, honestly. It feels like a retelling of some sorts, but I don't know, I really liked it. I do feel like it's a little bit too on the longer side. But still, in general, it's really cool and I will highly recommend it. So, another horror book. This is the September House, and this is super short and super sweet, and I know a lot of people will like it. This is about a marriage that live in a haunted house, and they know that they live in a haunted house. The only bad thing about it is that every September, the house goes insane, and walls start bleeding, you have ghosts. There's a lot, but this September seems to be special and we need to figure out why. So yeah, that's the main premise. I loved it. I loved it so much. It's also on the POV of an ancient couple, so it's really cool, honestly. Well, they're not really that ancient, but I really liked it, honestly. This is one of my favorite horror books, for sure. It's just like, it's very weird, but it's really cool. Then another one, and the last one in this category is The Liar of Red Valley. This is a very weird book, but if you like something like Rules for Vanishing, you will probably really like this, and it will get you out of a reading slump in no time. So, hear me out. The mother of the main character here is the Liar of Red Valley. She basically exchanges lies for wishes. Sounds complicated, I know. But she basically keeps like most of the town secrets. But the thing is, if you cross the river, there are really evil demon creatures out there. But there's even something else. The liar is dead, and now the king might be dying. So the protection that we have in Red Valley might be going away. It's a lot. It sounds like a lot, but honestly, it's really cool. I've read this book like 2 or 3 times already, but I don't know, it's really enjoyable and it's super, and it's a super fast read. So I have here a couple of fantasy books that I feel like are really easy to read and will get you in the mood of reading again. So the first one is The Mask of Mirrors by M.A. Carey. I love this book. I love this trilogy so much. There's a lot going on in here, but the thing is, our main character is a con artist and decides to disguise herself as the heir of this noble house in this town so they can access their money, basically. But when she gets there, she finds that maybe weird things are going on in this town and that she's going to need to go undercover much more than she thought. It's really cool. I know that summary really does not tell you anything about the book, but there's so much going on in here. There's a lot of magic, so if you love that, you're going to really enjoy this. This like kind of card magic too in here. One of my favorite characters of all time is also here. I love him so much. He's such a cool character. He's not like more of a bad guy and then he turns good a little bit. I really like him. But yeah, I highly recommend this series in general. It's super good and it's severely underrated, honestly. Then the other one is going to be The Helm of Midnight, because this book covers all the genres that I'm talking about. This is dark fantasy with horror and mystery elements. Honestly, this book is fantastic. For some reason, I never talk about this book being my favorite, like one of my favorites. But every time that I think about it, I want to reread it, and I feel like it's fantastic. So in a way, I think my subconscious knows that it's a favorite, but I do not want to admit it. So in this world, we have this type of magic that basically creates masks that harvest, well, not that harvest, that keep the soul of the wearer, basically. The thing is, the mask of a serial killer named Carbon is now missing, and these assassinations are starting again. So we're going to follow a detective trying to figure out what the hell is going on. It's really cool. The mystery element is on point. The horror and dark fantasy elements are really super on point. I feel like there's nothing like this. It's a very like dark city type of vibe, but more industrial. It's just amazing. I cannot recommend this one enough. So then I have another category, and this is YA. Because let's be honest, YA is definitely more entertaining than adult. I love adult. I only read adult, basically. But YA has this way of really flowing. It's really easy to read. Vocabulary is super easy. The story is very like bingeable, you know? So it's like a CW show, you know? Like, you know you shouldn't like it, but you love it. That's YA for me. One of the first one that I have here is One Dark Window, which I feel is very well known and it's been really loved by a lot of people. And this one surprised me a lot when I read it last year. This year? I don't know. But it surprised me a lot because I was so on board with this story. The atmosphere is so cool and so dark, even though definitely it has a very YA romance. It's really cool, dude. But in here, we're going to follow a girl who has always lived with this presence in her head, very corrupt, and is kind of a monster inside her. She always lived with this being inside her, but now it might be coming out. She's starting to black out. We also have like card magic, tarot cards. It's just super cool, dude. It's just super cool. I really liked it. One of the objectives of the book is to find all the cards that grant you power. It's really cool and I highly recommend it. I wouldn't say it's underrated, but it's definitely deserving of a chance. Then the next one is a very recent read of mine. This is Anatomy. A love story, which is YA, but it's not fantasy. This is a historical fiction book, a gothic mystery book, we could call it, honestly, but it's definitely a love story. It's definitely a love story, and it's not really something for me most of the time, but this time around I loved it. This is set in Edinburgh and we follow two main POVs. One is a woman who wants to become a surgeon and the other one is a resurrectionist, which is the people who used to exhumate bodies so the doctors could work with them. It's really cool. I really recommend it. It's just, this has been my duology. this month. So the last two books that I have here are actually both sci-fi novels. The first one is Pines, which is definitely sci-fi and mystery mixed together. In here we're going to follow Ethan Burke, and he goes into the town of Wayward Pines. He wakes up there, he doesn't know what he's doing, but he needs to find one of his co-workers. Basically, he's been sent there, but something is really off with this town. This might sound familiar because it had a TV show not that long ago, and it was really good. The first season was fantastic. It actually adapted the first, well, 3 books. It's a trilogy. But man, this first book is fantastic, and I highly recommend it. I read it not that long ago too. This is These Blighted Stars by Megan E. O'Keefe. This is a sci-fi horror type of novel, which I really like. We follow mainly 2 POVs, and the thing is, there's a lot going on in here, okay? But the atmosphere and some of the action sequences are really worth it if you're feeling in a slump. Because they are really, really, really good and really addictive. But in here, we're going to follow this group of people as they get stranded on a wild planet that is basically trying to kill them. Sounds good, I know. It's actually really cool. I promise you won't be bored with this one. I do have to say that book 2 is very different from book 1, so careful with that. So yeah, those are all the recommendations that I have for you if you're feeling in a slump. I feel like these are a little bit different than the ones you see the most out there, because for me, novels, well, novellas will not get me out of a reading slump. I really want to be in the story to be out of the slump. But yeah, do you have any recommendations? What is the book that you grab all the time once you're in a reading slump? For me, it's The 7 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle, but it is what it is. Tell me what is yours in the comment below, and as always, I will see you in the next one. Bye!